is holding these webinars through its intercountry quality nodes. We normally refer to them as ICQNs, for teaching and learning, and the ICQN on mathematics and science. And we are collaborating with the PhET Interactive Simulations, which is a project of the University of Colorado. And the PhET team will be conducting our training today. And again, we're super delighted that you're here to join us. Thank you all for registering. Just a quick background for those of you who don't know about ADEA. We are a Pan-African organization, and we aim to empower African countries to transform schooling into meaningful learning by leveraging our globally connected partners. And we work very, very closely with different stakeholders and partners in education, with governments, specifically ministries of education. We advocate for quality education, and we also share effective interventions that improve learning outcomes on the continent. So the webinars we are hosting today actually speak to that point. We will be hosting 4 webinars that are focused on an evidence-based technology and pedagogies for teaching early literacy, for teaching early numeracy. And these evidence-based technologies and pedagogies have proved to be really, really effective within our African context. And, we're super excited that we have so many of you attending today from, not just across our continent, but also across the globe. And we hope that you will benefit immensely, from this training. So really just welcoming you all again. And, we know that we have an array of participants. We have teachers, we have curriculum developers, instructional designers, and, educational policy makers. And, we hope that this training will be beneficial for you all. And I think what is so amazing about this is that the training will be showcasing how these different simulations can be used in low-resource environments and through differentiated and game-based approaches. So on that note, and without further ado, I would like to hand over to the coordinator of the ICQN on mathematics and science education, Dr. Mary Sichangi, to give a few remarks. Mary, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Good evening, good morning, good day, depending on where you are on the continent and also globally. I saw the registration and I noted that this is indeed an international meeting that is drawing participants from all over the world. Mary Sichangi is my name. I coordinate the ADEA Intercountry Quality Node on Maths and Science, and I'm based in Nairobi. I'm basically an educator with the expertise in maths education, and I am happy to be in this meeting. We are here to discuss the importance of integrating ICT resources in teaching at the foundational level. And one of the things that I thought is important to mention in this meeting is that we are living in an era where learners are quite exposed. They're exposed to media, to digital resources, to every kind of information. And when they come to the class, they find themselves in a very different environment, because possibly the teacher let the lesson practice with the aspirations of the learners. And so in this meeting, as we discuss digital resources, integrating digital resources at the basic learning level, at the foundational level, I would like to enumerate the fact that children that you're teaching at 21st century and dynamic, in order the fact that the knowledge in mathematics, in science, in all the STEM subjects that we come across today is spiral, and it builds on the prior knowledge that the learners bring to the class, and to the learning environment. What that means is that at basic learning level, we need to capitalize on what the learners bring to the school. And so this webinar is very important. It's very important because it's going to expose you to some of the resources that we may need to lay a good foundation with as we link to what the children bring to the school. And thirdly, the fact that it's important for us to lay a very good foundation with our learners at basic learning level and capitalize on the inquiry nature that the children bring to school. And the inquiry nature is such that children are very, very interested in things that make sense and also make logical sense and also excite them. Because, like, as you know, children at foundational level, they like playful learning. And so we are actually exposing you to more resources that will generate the affective domain of education. And finally, the most important part of this particular program is that these are self-taught materials that we can be able to use through the PhET Colorado platform, which are free online materials. A teacher can take time and actually develop their own capacity on how to use and reflectively think on how they integrate into the teaching. And so it's a good webinar for all of us to enjoy and also learn and also trigger our minds on what is it that we are doing that is not resonating with the 21st century learner. We are also noticing that children develop attitudes at the foundational level towards STEM subjects. In fact, we are now working so hard to reverse the perceptions of children towards STEM education. But if we could anchor our plans and methods of teaching to the resources that we are now going to be exposed through these webinars, it's likely that we will be able to harvest a lot of good attitudes towards STEM education. So in my opening remarks, I want to reiterate that the webinars are very important in laying a good foundation. One, as a teacher teaching 21st century learners, and two, the fact that you will be exposed to resources that you can reflectively think and develop your own capacity at a personal level to be able to deliver quality education in numeracy at basic learning level. Thank you, and I wish you all the best as you undertake these webinars. Invite a friend and stay tuned to all the sessions that we shall deliver. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Mary, for those opening remarks. Just a reminder again, translation services are available. Please do click on the interpretation icon and choose the language that is most appropriate for you. Okay, so we get into the real task for today, and I wish to invite Zach Mbasu from PhET to provide us an introduction on PhET and walk us through the PhET simulations. Thank you so much. Over to you, Zach.
Thank you so much, Jackie and Mary and ADEA for the opportunity to allow us to share about PhET interactive simulations and how these simulations can enhance teaching of foundational numeracy concepts. My name is Zach Mbasu, the African PhET ambassador. I am based here in Nairobi and really thrilled and humbled by the fact that educators, teachers on the continent can connect with us today to learn and share about how we can help foundational numeracy. At PhET, our mission is very simple. We want learners to learn math. We want learners to learn science by doing math or by doing science and not just by listening. So we believe that in empowering students to explore, to experiment and discover mathematical concepts through active learning over traditional methods like passive learning. So the objectives of this webinar today. Hello.
Please go ahead, sir.
Oh, yes. Oh, so these are the objectives of today's session. We are going to focus on developing number sense through engaging and hands-on activities that leverage on the power of PhET interactive simulations. And so we'll start by understanding, number sense and why it is foundational for mathematical success. Then we will get into a section of exploring PhET simulations that can be used to teach number sense concepts such as counting, comparing quantities, and also breaking numbers down. And in subsequent webinars, we will learn how to specifically work with specific simulations, focusing on very specific learning objectives. So before we dive in, I would like us to do a very simple activity. I would like you to share what you understand by foundational numeracy. So what, if someone mentions foundational numeracy, what does it mean to you? What are the components of foundational numeracy? And then also the other question that I would like you to just share is, why is foundational numeracy important? And for you to be able to share this, I would like you to go to menti.com and then put in the code that is displayed on the screen. And then just take about a minute to type your thoughts on what is foundational numeracy, and then go to the next question and tell us why you think foundational numeracy is important. So go to menti.com. If you're on a computer, key in that code 86826512. Or alternatively, if you're using a mobile phone, you can just scan the code that is displayed on the screen. And then you'll get two questions. The first question is, what is your understanding of foundational numeracy? What do you think are the components that constitute foundational numeracy? And then the second question that I would like you to give feedback on is, why is foundational numeracy important? So I'll give you about a minute just to give that feedback, and I will stop sharing my screen, and then I'll just I'll display the feedback that we are getting from the participants. Okay, so the first question is, what is foundational numeracy? What do you understand by foundational numeracy? I'll give it some time just to get a response. I think we have, so far we have one response from the audience. So the two questions are, one, what do you understand by foundational numeracy? And then two, why is foundational numeracy important? More feedback coming in. So we have the first response on what is foundational numeracy. One respondent says early math. The other respondent says basic numeracy skills that create the foundation for future learning. Could we get more responses, please? Awesome. So we have more responses. So solve basic math problems. Another participant says developing the basic understanding and competences related to numeracy. and its related concepts among young learners until grade 2. We have another response here. Foundational numeracy refers to the basic mathematical skills and understanding that form the groundwork for more advanced mathematical learning. Awesome. The initial ways of teaching how to read and write and calculate figures. And we have another response here. Foundational numeracy is basic skill of identifying and working with numbers. Awesome. So just to summarize the awesome responses that you've given, foundational numeracy is the ability of an individual to understand and work with numbers in everyday life. And this includes things like counting, ordering numbers, grouping objects, and understanding how numbers compare to each other, knowing whether one pile of oranges is more than or is less than the other pile of oranges, identifying which are bigger and smaller, understanding place value, and being able to deduce, like the ones, the tens, the hundreds, and so forth. And also just the general understanding of how numbers work. For example, just knowing that 5 is halfway between 0 and 10. So thank you so much for those responses. I'll just check on the responses on why is foundational numeracy important, which is the next question that you should have seen if you just tap next on that. Why is foundational numeracy important? So we all agree that foundational numeracy is a valuable skill to have, because it basically equips learners with numerical skills needed to navigate everyday lives. So for example, when we go to the market, we are always comparing prices of vegetables. When we are cooking, we want to follow recipes or adjust ingredients, how much salt that we are putting up in our food. We also want to manage finances. We want to do budgets so that we prioritize depending on the limited resources that we do have. We want to measure distances of where we are traveling to. We want to understand travel times, for example. And we also want to schedule meetings. So for example, I believe it's a foundational numeracy skill that you use to be able to allocate time to participate in this webinar. So that's why foundational numeracy is very, very important. Now, I want us to now just dive deep into the PhET simulations and connect this with foundational numeracy. So to do that, I'm going to give you a very brief introduction of PhET, so that you have understanding of the background of PhET, and to have a background of PhET. So PhET simulations was founded by Professor Carl Wieman in 2002, and it is based at University of Colorado. In 2001, Carl Wieman won a Nobel Prize, and he graciously donated his Nobel Prize to improve math and science education through developing PhET simulations. And these simulations, as we are going to see, are very engaging to learners. They are a game-like environment where students learn through exploration, they experiment, they change variables, and they make discoveries on their own, as we are going to see in a short while. So these simulations are freely available, and they can be accessed on any device, be it a computer, smartphone, a tablet, and so forth. And the goal for these PhET simulations is to improve the way math is taught, to improve the way science is taught, and so that we make the concepts very accessible and very engaging to these learners. I mentioned they are free, they are very interactive, they are based on educational research, and they cover a wide range of topics, including concepts in physics, chemistry, biology, and earth science. As we shall see, they are really animated, they are very interactive, and they encourage learners to explore on their own, to experiment. And as I said before, we basically want these learners to learn concepts and to learn math concepts by doing and not just by listening. So before I just take you to the PhET website, I just want to highlight that we have over 190 simulations that are free. They are open education resources. Teachers can access them. Learners can access them anywhere that they want. And if you are a teacher or an educator, to make the most use of these simulations, you need to create a free account on the PhET website in order to have access to the, to the different teacher tips, lesson plans, activities that are developed by other teachers around the globe. So I will stop sharing my screen and just take you specifically to the PhET website and show you a little bit around the PhET website so that you can know exactly where do you get these PhET simulations and how do you access them. So this is the PhET website. We'll drop a link in the chat box. And this PhET website is, as you can see, is very friendly. And I'm accessing it online. And in order to access the PhET simulations, you simply go to this tab. And then when you click on all sims, it is going to list a list of all the simulations that that we have created at PhET, and you can explore this library of these simulations. Now, on the left-hand side, you notice that these simulations have been categorized into subjects. You can see physics here, chemistry, math, and they have also been categorized into different grade levels. And so you can be able to filter depending on the level that you really want. So before I just come back to the numeracy simulations, I also want to highlight that you can also filter these simulations in different languages, including Swahili in Kenya, Hausa and Igbo in Nigeria, and other African native languages. So for the purpose of this, this webinar, I want to narrow down to the math simulations and specifically the foundational simulations, which means just focusing on the elementary simulations that we do have. You can see here we have, for number sense, we have number compare, number play. We have simulations on fractions, builder fractions, number line, fractions equality, and so forth and so on. I just want to pause here and allow you to go to the PhET website and filter the simulations to math and go specific to elementary school simulations, because that's the focus of this webinar and the next series of webinars. As you're doing that, I just want to highlight something else on this website, which is this teaching page. And this teaching page gives you access to teaching resources. that you can discover lesson plans, you can discover activities and guides for using the simulations effectively. So let me pause there and give you an opportunity to go to the PhET website. And once you go to the PhET website, I would like you to do the following. Once you go to the PhET website, I want you to explore the website, narrow down to the numeracy or math simulations, and I would like you to find one simulation that is relevant to your curriculum and drop the name of that simulation in the chat box. So go to the PhET website. The link has been shared in the chat box. Explore the website, go to the filter the math simulations, select elementary, and then among the simulations, I would like you to identify one relevant simulation that is relevant to your curriculum. I'll give you about 30 seconds to be able to do that. Okay, our 30 seconds are almost over now. Let me just check. Awesome. So I see a response from Santos says center and variability. Awesome. Thank you so much for identifying that. I'm sure others have also identified the other simulations. Now, this is what I would like you to do. For the simulation that you have identified, I would like you to go into that simulation, play around with the simulation, and I'll give you 2 minutes to play around with that simulation. So for example, the one who has identified center and variability, go into that specific simulation, and I would like you to identify what are your favorite features of that simulation. So for the simulation that you've identified, for example, Santos identified centered variability. Go into that simulation, play around with it a bit, and then as you play around with it, I would like you to identify just one favorite feature on that simulation that you really like, and also tell us why. Olawale Olani says Equality Explorer. Yes, go into Equality Explorer and then exploit for about a minute, and then identify one favorite feature that you've identified in that simulation. You could type in the chat box that feature, or you could also unmute yourself and just tell us what is that favorite feature that you have identified in that PhET simulation. Okay, so you had some time to explore a simulation of your choice, and I am sure you've identified some of the features that you've seen on the simulations. One of the things that I would like to say about the different features of those simulations is that you realize that those simulations have like less wording, and the interface is very intuitive. And it makes it easy to just like click on things, and move things around. And it basically allows learners of all backgrounds to effortlessly explore these concepts within the simulation. Santos says that the fact that it can predict medians based on my present inputs, great, wonderful, very wonderful feedback there from Chinwe, says number compare. So the other thing that is very important for these PhET simulations is that they incorporate pedagogically powerful actions that actively engage students in scientific exploration and in mathematical exploration, promoting a very deep understanding of these concepts. And then lastly, you realize that when you open the screen of the simulation often will present you the same concept in multiple representations. You'll see like a visual for mathematical concept, and then you'll also see like symbolic forms. And this cross representation encourages students to make connections between the different ways of understanding concepts. Awesome. Okay, now I want us to go to a very, very specific simulation. But before we go to a very specific simulation, I want to highlight that PhET as a tool is not an all-in-one technology solution for learning. Just like any other tool, simulations are effective when they are combined with effective teacher facilitation and using carefully designed activities that engage learners and get the learners to interact with the content that they are learning. So teacher facilitation is very important, and it helps students to connect the simulation to real-world concepts. The teacher helps in guiding through the complex tasks that have been given. And also the teacher could ask questions and provide meaningful feedback. So what I'm saying is that PhET sim, activity design, and teacher facilitation are all very important. Now, let's focus on a very, very specific simulation. And this simulation is called number play. So what I would like you to do is to scan that code, or we'll drop the link to the number play PhET simulation in the chat box. I would like you to open that PhET simulation, specific number play PhET simulation. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to play around with that PhET simulation. You're going to explore that PhET simulation. And then as you play around with that PhET simulation, I would like you to think about two questions. The first question is, what do you notice? And the second question is, what do you wonder as you play around with that PhET simulation? So the link has been dropped in the chat. The simulation is number play, or you can also like scan that code. It's going to take you directly to that number play PhET simulation. Play around with it. And as you play around with it, think about the things that you notice on that simulation. So what do you notice about the simulation? What are the different controls that you notice? And what can you learn about numbers with that simulation? So if you have captured that code, I'm going to stop and I'll put up the specific simulation, number play simulation. The link has been dropped in the chat box. And this is the simulation itself. So this is what you get. This is what you get when you open that link. The link of that PhET simulation. And then you'll notice that there are different things on the first page. So about gives you like what are the topics that you can teach using this number play PhET simulation. We have the teaching resources tab. that gives you an opportunity to get lessons that have been developed by different teachers across the globe who have contributed to this PhET simulation. There are activities and also translation. And in order to dive into the simulation itself, let me just refresh this. I will reload the simulation again. Number play. So as I'm doing this, I would like you to explore the simulation itself. John, are you able to share your screen on the simulation?
Sure. Yes, I can. I just need a second to bring that up.
So play with the simulation as we load it. Let me stop sharing my screen. Play with the simulation and think about things that you notice on the simulation, things that you wonder about the simulation, what are the controls of that simulation, and what do you think you can learn about that simulation. Okay, I think you've had enough time to play around with the simulation itself. And as you can see, that simulation has got different things. Shola, if you can just zoom in a bit, zoom in. Yes, and you can see different things on that screen. So for example, at the top corner, you can see like the numbers displayed in words. And then the second box has got the actual number that is being displayed. And then on the third top box, you can see it's a 10 frame, which is basically just having counters of the numbers that Shola has been able to put on the screen. And then where the cursor is on now, you can see Shola is putting together numbers, separating them, and also like splitting them, arranging them individually. And then on this other screen, the learner is able to choose between a puppy, an apple, a butterfly, and a ball, just to represent the numbers, that are on there. So what we just did by giving you an opportunity to do an open play, just the way Shola is doing, is what we call open play. And open play is a valuable pedagogical tool that allows students to explore in an structured and self-directed manner, just moving things around, getting the hang of controls. And this makes the students like very, very, just comfortable to know how to move things around and, change things and be able to organize things on that specific simulation. Okay, so just still on that number play simulation, Shola, if you can stop sharing your screen, I will share my screen and give you, just give participants a simple task on that specific simulation. Okay.
While you're at that, Zach, just a quick update in terms of how we are doing with time. We are just past the 40-minute mark, so we have to allow for some question. We just consider some additional 5 or under 5 minutes to switch over to question and answer so that we can listen and respond to everyone's question.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if you can share your screen on that simulation, maybe I can just give participants as a very simple task on that number play simulation.
I should go back to the scene.
Yes, go to the sim and go to the first screen.
Sure.
Awesome. So I would like to give you a very simple challenge with this simulation. So just take all the numbers down. So if I am a teacher and I'm using this simulation, one of the activities I could just give my learners is give them a chance to arrange 7 objects on the screen. So how can they arrange 7 objects on the screen? So if you are playing the simulation, just think about like, how can you arrange 7 objects on the screen? So that's one. And Shola, maybe if you can just act as a grade 2 learner or a grade 1 learner, and just arrange 7 objects on the screen. And then, of course, some of them might get it right and others might get it wrong. And then you go ahead to discuss what have they arranged, like what can they see? And then they can talk about the different numbers they have put up, the different objects that they have put up. And then they can also see the number 7 in words on that screen so that they can connect the 7 objects, the 7 ones, and also the number 7 itself. And also on the 10 frame, they can see the 7 counters on that screen. Then you can ask them a question, for example, how can we group the number 7, for example? There are different ways of grouping that number 7. What are the different number pairs that make 7? For example, you can ask them that question, and then they should be able to give a response. And then you can also ask them, what are the different ways that they can express the number 7, on that particular screen. And then this is an activity that they are doing, on the screen. And then maybe another question or another challenge that you could ask them just with that number 7 is you could ask them that without necessarily counting one by one, can they quickly determine how many more counters are needed to fill the 10 frames completely? If you look at the 10 frames on the top right corner, you can see there are boxes that are missing the black counters. So you can ask them, how can you quickly determine more counters that are needed to fill the 10 frames? And you can do this with different numbers. You can increase that 10 frame from the 10 frame to 20 frame, and then just ask them to determine the missing amount of the counters and the large numbers. So this is just a way of introducing, helping them to solidify the concepts of tens, and strengthening their math mental skills, understanding the idea of place value, and the concept of using 10 as a base unit. Awesome. So that's just a little sneak peek into how you can use this simulation, and there's amazing feedback in the chat box on how to exactly use this PhET simulation to get learners to interact and understand this idea of concepts and numbers. Awesome. So because of time, maybe I will just challenge you to create your own challenges, that are based on this simulation, for example. So, like, can you think of more challenges using this specific number play simulation? at your own time, so that you can come up with different ideas to be able to use this number play simulation. Now, the other homework that I would like to give you is to, again, just think through, like, why do you think these simulations might be valuable for foundational learning? I think that's valuable. You know, the different benefits, especially for, you know, like specific to number sense. You know, they really provide hands-on interactive experience to actively manipulate objects. They provide that visual representation of concepts to make you know, the idea of numbers to be very concrete. And then the number play simulation is also very colorful and blocks of tiles to represent quantities, helping learners to just visualize the idea of concept of numbers. Before we go into the question and answer, I would like to highlight the opportunities for continued learning about number sense and the PhET simulations. So the first opportunity is this self-paced course that we are calling Number Sense for Primary Education with PhET. So we have created a self-paced course that is called Number Sense for Primary Education with PhET simulations. And this course is meant for educators, teachers, policymakers, and we'll be opening this course at no cost for teachers and educators from July to November 2024 on the Coursera platform. The target audience for this 15-hour course is, of course, teachers and educators and policymakers, and anyone who is interested in learning how to teach using these PhET simulations. In this course, you will learn how to facilitate lessons using our early math simulations. We'll be focusing specifically on 3 simulations: number play simulation, number compare simulation, and Maker 10. These simulations are very powerful to highlight, you know, the foundational learning concepts like counting, you know, grouping, comparison, place value, and just overall number sense. So I will drop a link in the chat box for those who are interested, for you to express interest. You need to fill that form. And then for those who will fill that form, you'll receive a detailed syllabus to that specific course, and also an invitation to join the course. So in addition to this course, we will be having 3 webinars in the month of June and July and July. So the second webinar that is following this, it will be on June 19th, and this will focus on number play, and you will discover the power of play through building foundational number sense in young children through the use of number play PhET simulation. And then on July 3rd, we will have another webinar that will focus on a different PhET simulation that is called number comparison. And in this webinar, we are going to explore playful learning strategies using the number compare simulation that makes it possible to compare numbers in a fun and very interactive way. And then on July 17th, sorry for that mistake on the slide. So July 17th, we are going to focus on a case study from other teachers who are using the simulation. And in this session, you will learn how other educators are creatively and effectively incorporating specific PhET simulations into their own teaching. So I would like to stop and pause there and welcome questions regarding foundational learning and these PhET simulations that I've been sharing. So back to you, Jackie. You're on mute, Jackie. Okay. As we wait for Jackie to probably unmute, I'll just go through some of the questions that have been dropped in the chat. I saw a question. Six.
Hi, Zach, I'm back.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I didn't have rights to unmute, so I couldn't unmute my mic. Well, thank you so much for that great presentation. Just looking at the chats, I can see how excited people are about this about these simulations. I was just thinking to myself, kids would really have fun with this, but so would I. Like as an adult, there are just so many different ways in which you can work with these numbers. Yeah, so please, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat, or please feel free to put up your hand. I think what's important to note about these webinars, that this is a series of 4 webinars. This is only the beginning. There's a lot more that will definitely be learned in the subsequent 3 webinars. And so really encouraging people to make sure that you attend all 3 webinars, and again, bring along, a friend, a workmate, a fellow teacher, a policymaker, so you can learn more about this facility. It's free, it's interactive, it's a fun way to learn. Do we have any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat.
So there is one specific question from Juliana. Juliana was asking, what does PhET stand for? Yes, very good question. So PhET is an acronym for Physics Education Technology. So in the beginning, when PhET was started, it was purely focused on developing physics simulations. But over time, there was need to develop simulations in other areas, including math. And so we don't really highlight PhET as physics education technology. We keep it silent, but we have simulations in physics, chemistry, biology, and math. So that's a very good question.
Right, and again, positive comments in the group, in the chat. Juliana says, I'll definitely share this amazing tool here in SA. That's awesome, Juliana. Please encourage your colleagues to also attend the sessions. These will be beneficial. Any more comments? I can't see the hands. Shola, do we have any hands up?
At the moment, no, there are no hands raised. Please, if you have questions, please use the question and answer feature to type, or just raise your virtual hand and we'll be happy to have you on mute. But there's a question which we skipped. Matumba is asking, is the website free or it needs data?
Oh, that's a good question. So, so there are different ways that you can access the PhET simulation. The first way is you can access it online via the website link that was dropped in the chat box. And for that, you need internet connectivity to be able to access that, that link. And then the second way to access the PhET simulation is that when you go to the website, there is an offline button that you can pull all the PhET simulations offline. And then from there, you no longer need internet to be able to access those PhET simulations. And then the third way to access the PhET simulations is through your smartphone or your tablet. We have an app that you can be able to download on your device, and then you can access those PhET simulations offline. And in South Africa, I've seen a number of educators just put the simulations on a flash drive and just like copy on different PCs and share. And then I've also seen teachers who download specific simulation on their WhatsApp, and then they just share on WhatsApp. So there are different ways to access those PhET simulations. Thank you. Yeah.
We have another comment. Can PhET be useful in literacy and languages? This is from Stanley Sakala, Zambia.
So PhET simulations has been usually, focused on math and science concepts. However, I have seen very creative teachers across the continent who get kids to create stories with the PhET simulations. So that's just an example of how other teachers and other educators have used the PhET simulations in literacy. But I'm sure there are other creative ways that it could be done.
Okay, there's another question here from Adeni. Welcome, sir. Please, sir, is there PhET simulation for learning SAS programming, Python?
Great question. So if you're interested in learning programming through creating PhET simulations, the source code is free. You can access it on GitHub and be able to see how a simulation has been created. And through that, you can be able to learn programming skills on your own, and even think about how you can be able to create your own simulation.
Okay. There's a comment there about Python not being a snake, but yeah. All right. Then there's a comment. I am writing to extend my heartfelt gratitude for the incredible webinar being conducted. Thank you so much for all of your amazing comments on this webinar. And we really look forward to having you in subsequent webinars. I think this has just given us, a drop in the ocean of what, we can learn when it comes to these simulations and teaching of numeracy in a fun and exciting way. Do we have any hands up, Shola?
No.
We do have a specific question, I think, from Tabot in the Q&A, and this is directed at ADEA. And the question reads, what impact does ADEA create in the African government in the facilitation of technological tools such as PhET interactive simulations into their education policy? Yeah, so that's the question from Tabot. I guess Jackie or Mary?
Jackie, Mary, Chinedu?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes, let me attend. ADEA is a policy that what we would largely or likely do is to showcase the benefits of tools and solutions like PhET to government and policymakers. And if you look at the composition of the participants in this session, you would realize we have not just teachers of foundational literacies, but curriculum developers and policymakers. And the whole idea is to, showcase the benefits of this platform, including how it simplifies the teaching of foundational numeracy. And that way provide an opportunity for, solutions like this to be adopted, tested in different local or country level contexts, and then, begin to explore the possibilities of having it integrated into the curriculum or teaching methodologies and all that. It's usually a process, but it starts with advocacies and engagement like we are doing right now to ensure that we showcase exactly the benefits of the solution and what it seeks to achieve. ADEA is also at the forefront of driving education resilience. And in that sense, it basically means that we are looking for different options and opportunities to ensure that when circumstances such as the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns happen again, learning can continue. So it means that technology is at the base, at the forefront of everything we do in terms of building resilience, and PhET simulations, come in very handy in that regard. So if you pay attention closely to our channels and platforms, it basically means that we are consistently putting evidence at the disposal of our member countries, knowing that ADEA is an association, put some of those solutions at their disposal, show them the evidence of what works, and provide the necessary support and assistance in the event that countries will want to, scale up or integrate this into their systems. And this is what exactly we stand to do. And with partnerships like the PhET team from the University of Colorado and your participants here, there's an additional eye, additional ear, and additional mouth to, broadcast the news or share the gospel in terms of what works. This is how ADEA does it.
Thank you, Chinedu, for your response. Any additional questions? I see Adeni didn't get his response regarding the use of these simulations to of PhET simulations for learning SAS programming or Python. Zach, could you just respond again to the question? I don't think he got on.
Okay. Yes. So if you're learning SAS or Python, I believe you're learning programming. And what I said is that PhET, the code that is used to make PhET simulations is free, it's open source. Anyone can be able to find it on GitHub, and then you can be able to look at how was a specific simulation created and the code around it, and then just use that as an inspiration to learn programming skills, for yourself. So that's free. It's freely accessible. So long as you have an account on GitHub, you can be able to access that source code for free and use it to learn programming.
Okay, thank you so much, Zach. I am mindful of time here. I just wanted to say that, given the positive response that we have from our participants, we hope that, in the next webinar, we will have a lot more, participants. I see others already looking forward to the next webinar, and this is great. Please bring along a friend, a workmate, so that we can, explore this very, very interactive and useful resource together. So I think at this moment, I will, Zach, do you have any closing remarks with regards to this session before I before I hand over to Mary?
No, I just want to appreciate ADEA for the opportunity and appreciate the participants for sparing their time to come and learn, not just to learn, but also to share. I'm really looking forward to the next webinars where we dive into the specifics of the individual simulations and how we use them to teach concepts, and looking forward to learning from the participants. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. And I believe our next webinar is on the 19th?
Yes.
Yes, 19th of June. And we will definitely send through a reminder before then. Just want to thank you thank everybody for coming through, for the interaction, for your wonderful comments. And at this point, I would just like to hand over to Mary Sichangi, the coordinator for the ICQN on Maths and Science Education, to please give us closing remarks. Mary, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And thank you, Zach. As always, you do it effortlessly. And we really appreciate PhET and the work you're doing in the STEM education space, especially numeracy and at basic learning level. We are appreciative of this fact, ladies and gentlemen, that when you have been equipped with the resources, it's likely that you'll make use of them, and you'll also find room to improve the way you deliver numeracy at basic learning level. And so our hope as ADEA is we request that you practice the tenets of the discussions we have had today. Using the TPAC model, you can always integrate technology in how you prepare for your lessons. And of course, equip yourself first, then encourage your learners to make use. Usually a confident teacher is a teacher who is able to pick on any form of resource and deliver a good lesson. And I encourage you to motivate your learners also to make it play. At that age, if you expose your learners and they have these digital resources, instead of spending time in front of television and watching meaningless programs, occasionally I would encourage children to enjoy using some of these resources that develop their capacity in STEM and lay a good foundation. In the near future, we are also thinking of creating platforms where children link with each other digitally and play games that are related to this kind of resources. And I think I want to laud PhET for coming up with the idea. Just the fact that you give them free and they're online, it's really an encouragement to the education sector. So we, on behalf of ADEA and the team here, we want to say thank you so much for the wonderful resources you've developed. And I will urge the participants to make use of them at whatever point when you are teaching the various concepts. Explore, and we encourage PhET to make more. Thank you and good day, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are. Looking forward to seeing you. Invite a friend in the next webinar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. See you in the next webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Welcome. See you next time. I'm so excited.